Alright guys, a lot of you asked me to look into mermaids and to see if there was a connection with cryptids. A lot of the cryptid community, they do believe that there's a connection in the DNA and maybe possible connection to hominids and other creatures. I'll admit, investigating this, I did find some things that were interesting to me. Uh, some pretty popular people have seen what they believe to be mermaids. One of the stories was 1943, and it was the K Islands, spelled Kei Islands, pronounced K. During World War II, Japanese soldiers were stationed in a 555 square mile area of the K Islands in Indonesia. They had some strange encounters with mermaids during the 1940s. The local villagers were familiar with these creatures and called them orang ikan, which translate to manfish. The creatures were described as being around 150 centimeters tall, having spikes on their spine, shoulders, and neck. They were said to have pink, salmon-colored skin, a mouth that resembled a carp rather than having a fish tail. These creatures had long arms and frog-like legs, both which had talons at the end. Japanese soldiers seen a lot of these during their tour. Japanese soldiers recorded many different sightings, saying they even saw some on land, suggesting they were amphibious, but mostly seemed at home in the water. On one instance, a troop of soldiers claimed to be exploring some unseen land and came upon a natural lagoon. Everything seemed normal until there was sudden thrashing in the water. Suddenly, an orang ikan jumped out of the water onto a nearby rock. It turned, faced the soldiers to let out a gurgling, burping noise that didn't seem to be friendly. They then saw another creature moving smoothly in the water toward them, as fast as any fish would. Not knowing the intentions of the creatures, the soldiers started shooting at the rocks and into the water, only to have the creatures disappear from view. A very reputable person that witnessed this event was a sergeant named Mr. Taro, who was a high-ranking soldier. Spoke to the villagers and requested if any of the orang ikan were captured, dead or alive, to contact him immediately. It was soon after that the chief summoned the general, and to his astonishment saw with his own eyes a lifeless aquatic creature. He described what he saw as, and this is in the actual report of the military report that he turned in, a roughly 4 foot 9 inch tall, pinkish skinned human, looking face and limbs, spikes along its head, and a mouth like a carp. Mr. Taro Hariba made his best efforts at the war to get the scientific community involved, yet unfortunately it did not happen. In later years, the United States Navy would become involved in Operation Mermaid, and we're going to look into that later. Some of the things that made me kind of wonder that there was a possibility, and again, I'm new to this, would be that whenever Sarah and I, went down to the culvert and we saw the thing climb the tree that actually jumped into the water and swam into the horn, it seemed to be comfortable in a water environment, whatever it was, it went underneath the horn. We've also seen things swim across the creeks. We wasn't sure what they was when I was fishing with my mom and them. A lot of boaters have said they've seen eyes under the water while fishing at night that come into the lantern that look humanish eyes underneath the water. Some of the boaters would say they would see that. Another thing is that mom and I, while fishing with my sister and her husband, we seen a thing one night while my mom was putting bait on her hook. Wasn't real sure what it was, but she called me over to the truck. And when I walked over to the truck, I wasn't sure what she wanted. We were fishing, it was late night, we had the lanterns on, and the lanterns were illuminating the side of the truck, and then beyond the truck there was a tree. It was a willow tree, and it had a fork in it. And mom was, she seemed a little nervous, and she goes, "Don't pay attention over there, just act like you're getting some bait, but look between the fork of that tree and look at the head in the fork of the tree." So I looked over at the fork of the tree, and there was a head in the tree. Now, it took me a minute for my eyes to adjust from going from the lanterns to the dark with the light and everything, but at first it looked like a really big, like a frog. It was green, and you could see kind of like the wart looking stuff on it, but as I got to looking and as my eyes adjusted, I could see a yellow eye that was actually blinking. You could see a nostril. There wasn't a large nose, but there was a nostril. Then there was a mouth, and it was standing there. My first instinct was to draw my weapon. Of course, when you draw your weapon, you have to look, the totality of circumstances. Is it the right thing to do at the time, and the consequences of your actions. At the time, we had the kids down there, and I felt that, if there was more than one, or if things went bad and you missed or something, it could endanger people. So I thought the best action at the time was to get everybody out of there as safely as we could. So that's what we done. We loaded up the gear. I watched, and we got out of there. Luckily, nothing happened. I did go back the next day, and out of curiosity, I took a tape measure because I wanted to measure how tall this creature would have had to have been to be looking through the fork of the tree at us. And whenever we measured it, it came out to be 7 foot 4 inches, which would have been approximately where the eyes were at. So a pretty tall creature. Couldn't have been real bulky because the tree, was a regular sized tree. So I mean, normal sized, medium build creature. It wasn't nothing, just the height, and it was really strange. But I did witness that, and then this story talking about the water and everything, and then this thing being green, and then boaters seeing the eyes under the water, the thing diving in the water with Sarah and I, and then whenever you have a sergeant and a general that see the same thing, that make military reports on it, and then you have a village of people that see it, say it's there. I mean, it's tangible evidence. I believe there's enough there to investigate. Where they come from, if they're related, I don't know. If y'all enjoy these kind of videos, let me know in the comments if you want to see more of these, if they're interesting to you. Of course, we're still going to be doing the cryptid, the Bigfoot and stuff like that, but this was pretty interesting. The more I dove into it, it was interesting, the comments and the beliefs of the people in the villages. I found it very interesting. So if this is something y'all would like to see more of, let me know. Got some good things coming up. Got some investigations coming up. I got some podcasts coming up. I'm working on some of those. We're going to have some live podcasts, and we'll see where we go from there, guys. We got some good stuff coming. I think you're going to love the podcast. We got some pretty good encounters coming. But again, guys, I appreciate y'all watching. Keep your head on a swivel. Until then, don't be something's dinner.